Hi there, I'm John Hayes and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager at SquaredUp, and I'm also an observability specialist, and I publish the Observability 360 newsletter. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can use SquaredUp and Prometheus to monitor your Kubernetes environments. So obviously, there are many different options for managing Kubernetes environments. And so the question is, well, why would you choose SquaredUp? And we think that there are three kind of main reasons. The first one that I'd look at is ease of use. So there's a lot of complexity and a lot of technical detail in both Kubernetes and Prometheus. And our Prometheus data source allows you to build really sophisticated queries without having to learn the underlying PromQL language. You can just use our really intuitive UI to get the data that you need. The second reason probably would be cost. Like many other SaaS solutions can be prohibitively expensive, especially at scale. So if you have a large number of users, you can end up being assigned to, say, an enterprise account that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars per year. And the third reason would be what we would call unified observability. So SquaredUp has over 60 data sources and gives you a single pane of glass for your databases, your web apps, Lambda functions, and your Kubernetes instances all in one place. And you can look at every kind of angle of what you're doing. So as well as seeing the health of your Kubernetes instance itself, you can have a look at the CI/CD pipelines that are actually deploying your applications, and you can also look at things like Kubernetes cost. So there are a lot of different aspects to Kubernetes observability, and you can get very technical and go into a lot of very fine detail. And as this is just a short session, I'm just going to concentrate on kind of three features of the SquaredUp approach. So the first thing that we're going to do is get an overview of our cluster so we can just understand the basics of the cluster. Then we're going to drill down and get a look at our cluster nodes, and then we're going to zoom in a bit closer still to get visibility of the state of our pods and containers and services. And for this session, we're going to be using the Open Telemetry Telescope Shop sample application, and this consists of a set of microservices developed in a number of different languages and runtimes, and we've installed those on a managed Kubernetes instance running within AWS. So let's get started and look at some dashboards. So our first port of call is this cluster overview dashboard. And as the name suggests, it gives you a high-level overview of your cluster, so you can get an immediate impression of its size and its shape. So straight off the bat, I can see the number of nodes that I've got. I can see the Kubernetes version that I'm running, which is obviously important for making sure that your version is still supported. And over on the right, at the top, I can see two donut charts, and they are showing me how many pods I'm running and how they are distributed. So I can see that there's a nice balance of pods across my nodes. I haven't got kind of like 35 on one node and one on the other nodes. And then I can also see the distribution across namespaces, so I can see that things are nicely organized. So one of the really great features of Prometheus is that it ships with a number of built-in checks for Kubernetes health, and I can surface these incredibly easily in my dashboard. All I need to do is use the alerts stream in the SquaredUp Prometheus plugin, and then with a couple of clicks, we'll surface those alerts into a table like this without having to write a single line of code. And this will give me great visibility of any major issues that might be running at the cluster level. So obviously there's a few things here that I might need to investigate. So that's our kind of cluster overview. And so the next thing we're now going to do is drill down and have a look at the health of our nodes. So Kubernetes is essentially a control plane, and it runs on either physical or virtual machines, and those are our nodes, and ensuring that they are healthy is absolutely essential for making sure that our cluster runs smoothly. So we can see here on the top of this dashboard, we have a squared up block visualization, and we have one block representing each of the nodes in our cluster. And this is a kind of health indicator. So we can see here at a glance really easily that all of these are colored green. So that means that all of our nodes are running and they're all running healthily. So that's kind of a good start. And the next thing that I want to do is just look at some key metrics for performance and load on my nodes. And I can see over here, looking at CPU usage, that it's actually quite variable. So I've got one node with low usage, one with kind of quite erratic usage, and then one with very high usage. And then also a kind of similar pattern with memory, and kind of similar with network in and network out. So from the previous dashboard, I know that my pods are quite evenly distributed around my cluster. So it could be that there's one or two nodes which are running very hot. And so the next thing I probably want to do is drill down to the next level and have a look at the pod health and pod stats. So we're going to go over to this pod health dashboard here. So if you're a Kubernetes admin, one of the commands that you probably run quite frequently, if you want to just check up at a glance the kind of health of your pods, is the kind of top 5 command, and that will return for you a list of pods, and it will show their kind of memory and CPU usage. So we've kind of recreated that here in dashboard form. So we can see our top 5 pods by CPU usage, and obviously looking at CPU usage, you can see that one pod really jumps out, and that's our load generator. That's kind of using up far more CPU than the others. And equally, if I go over to this tile here where we're looking at memory usage, I can see straight away that again that same load generator pod is using up a large amount of memory. So again, I can see kind of that's something that I'm going to want to investigate. And two of the other kind of metrics that I'm going to be interested in are kind of network activity. So let's have a look, and we'll see network send and network receive. My Prometheus pod is kind of very active on both of those, which is kind of not surprising because we'd expect it to be kind of sending and receiving a lot of telemetry. So there are kind of two other kind of diagnostics that I'm also really interested in, and that is the state of my deployments of my pods and my containers. So if I look over on this left-hand table here, I can see for each pod, there's normally actually only going to be one container, but sometimes in a pod you can have kind of a sidecar or a helper container. And one of the things that we really are going to be interested in looking at is whether both of those, or whether all of the kind of containers for a particular pod are running. And so we can see here that, for example, the alert manager that has 2 containers configured and they're both running, so that's kind of really good. And you can see here we're also using a squared up state column here, so I also get kind of a nice visual cue straight away for anything that might be wrong. And over in the next table, it's kind of a similar principle, but this is kind of looking at the deployment level. So often for a deployment, if it's going to be under a lot of load, I might want to configure it to have more than one pod. And we can see here, for example, that the load balancer is configured to have, or scheduled to have, 2 pods, and it's got 2 pods running. So again, we're using our state column to just give us a visual indication of whether there might be anything wrong, and luckily everything seems to be looking good. So that's our kind of cluster overview. The next thing that we're going to look at is kind of the kind of ease of use aspect, and how we can get set up, and how we can look at creating a really simple kind of tile in SquaredUp. We've connected to our Prometheus server, and so the next thing we can do now is start adding dashboards. So one important indicator of the performance of my services is the HTTP request duration. And in our sample application, we've got a shopping cart application. So I might be very keen to make sure that that is highly performant, because I don't want to lose customers at the point where they're checking out if performance is slow and it takes a very long time for the pages to load, etc. So what I'm going to say is add dashboard, and for the data, I'm going to select my Prometheus data source, and you can see here now I've got a number of options for data streams. So if I wanted to, I could just grab a list of alerts. I could run a PromQL query, but what I'm going to do is just run a simple query. And so I'm going to click on simple query and say next. And I'm interested in the metrics for a particular service. So for the source type, I'm just going to say service name. And then this will return all of the services. So I don't need to query Prometheus to find out the services. SquaredUp has already indexed all of the relevant objects, and I can just select them from a list. And you can see here we've got cart service. So I'm just going to select that and say next. And what SquaredUp will do now is look at what might be relevant metrics for that cart service. And if I just have a look at my drop down now, we can see a list of metrics, and this is the one that I want, HTTP server request duration. So I'm just going to select that, and then which kind of query type, and I'm just going to say a sample of values over time, and the default is average, and that's perfect for me. And I'm just going to say done, and boom, straight away SquaredUp goes off and brings back all of that data that I need, and that's without me having to write a single line of code. And I want to visualize that as a line chart, so I'm just going to go over to visualization here, select line chart, and that looks pretty good to me. And I'm just going to save that. So we've looked at how we can create these visualizations. What we might also want to do is look at how we can kind of act on these insights. And in SquaredUp, one really valuable feature is monitors. So monitors are really easy to create. So if I just edit my dashboard and then edit my tile, you can see up here I've got this on this tab here, I've got monitoring, and if I just enable it, and you can see here that the idea is there's a certain kind of threshold value, and if the value that's returned from Prometheus is higher than that, we can have an error. We can set an error condition that we can then track. So I might be thinking to myself, well, I want my HTTP request duration to be less than 0.2 of a second. So I'm just going to say, if anything is greater than 0.2 of a second, give me a warning, or give me an error condition, I should say. And we can see here that at the moment, everything would count as being a successful request because nothing is exceeding 0.2 of a second. So that's great. So I'm now just going to click on save and done. And one of the really powerful aspects of a monitor in SquaredUp is that even though we can see that it's been indicated here on our dashboards, we can also roll that up so it's available in a higher level view. So in my Kubernetes workspace, if I go to my workspace dashboards, you can see that that monitor, without me having to do anything, is automatically rolled up to my workspace summary. So this is really powerful that I don't even need to drill down to dashboards, because I could have a lot of dashboards for a lot of different clusters and services. But those that I'm really interested in monitoring, I can just view from one single point here. Now, if we go back to our dashboard, the moment we have got our monitor, and we've also rolled it up to our workspace, but we might also want to use other methods for alerting people that the threshold has been breached. And again, that's really easy in SquaredUp. We can really easily set up alerts. So if I go to edit this and I go to my monitoring tab again, and you can see down the bottom here, I can set up notifications. And so if I go to, so this takes me to our monitors page, and you can see here I've got this one monitor, and I'm going to add a notification rule for it, and that means that I can send notifications via Slack channels, emails, etc. So if I just say add notification rule, and I don't want this to apply to all of the monitors in the workspace, I just want to apply it to cart service request duration, and all I want to do is send out an email. And so I'm going to add a destination, and I'm already configured, and that's it. So now I will get an email notification whenever that threshold is breached. And not only that, but the email will also contain a screenshot of that dashboard for me as well. So I can kind of get a good kind of visual take on what's happening. So that is monitoring Kubernetes with Prometheus and SquaredUp in a nutshell. Obviously, you can go into greater depth, and you can use some more of the advanced options in SquaredUp, such as scripting and SQL analytics, to really structure and shape your data with really enormous flexibility. On top of that, we have integrations with AWS, Azure, GCP, so you can complement Prometheus with insights from CloudWatch or Log Analytics, or even run custom queries. And in addition to that, we've got integrations with Elasticsearch and OpenSearch so that you can run log queries, for example. And just visit the website for full details on all the plugins. And thanks for watching.